I really have lost the thread of this song. I don't know if you can hear it. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to. I mean, obviously my version is better because it's about comic books. This is the verse. No, this is the part I'm supposed to do. That's close enough. 2, 3, 4. I don't care about you. The thing of it is, I'm doing the version that has been in my head since high school, which is when that song came out. To date myself, just the pick out of the week. Sorry, I really should get it to come down like the "Let's Get Ready to Rumble" guy. Did you know that you're not allowed to say "Let's get ready to rumble" if you're not that guy? That's a true thing. He's sued people for it. You're not even allowed to say it. I mean, he can sue me. What's he going to get? These comics? Well, you can come and pry them from my cold, dead hands. First up. Ooh, somebody's feeling frisky. First up this week, Ghost Cage #1. This is a new book from the Image Comics Group, and I have no idea what it's about at all. I imagine it's something science-y, fiction-y, horror-y thing. It's drawn and co-written by Nick Dragata. It's co-written with Caleb Gellner here, who I don't know the name from off the top of my head. Nick Dragata, though, drew East of West, and I want to double-check to make sure that's right. How have you been, though? Yeah. Nick Dragata drew East of West, which was a comic, also an Image, written by Jonathan Hickman. And it's one of my favorite, completely confusing books that I've ever read. It ended right, I want to say, at the beginning of quarantine or soon thereafter. And I started from the beginning, because very early on, East of West lost me completely. But every issue was fun to read anyway, even though I had no idea what was happening. Dragata's art is really good. This is him on the cover here. Well, that's not him. This is his art on the cover here. And Hickman's scripts, even though I have trouble keeping the finer threads in the old duder's head here, still really good. So I started to reread it from the beginning, and then I lost track of it. I got so much stuff to read. I don't need to. You don't need my troubles. But yeah, this should be fun. It's somewhat oversized, so hopefully that pays off as well. Because these are all, well, not this one, but this one. What else I have this week? Oh, thank you for asking. We have Demons #1. This is written by Scott Snyder, who's blocked me on Twitter. But that's fine. I'm not really on social media anymore. And drawn by Greg Capullo. These two were very well known for their run on Batman, I want to say about 7 or 8 years ago now. And I did read a chunk of it, and it was really good. They went for years. They did a arc called Year Zero, which was like, obviously a prequel to Year One. Although, I mean, they've done that so many times with Batman especially. They're like, why don't we go back and see what it was like at the beginning? I go, yeah, no one's thought of that in 40 years. Or when it was Year One? 30 years, sorry. And Year Zero was good, but the Riddler was the main villain in that, as I recall. And he seemed way scarier than he ever was in what I would imagine Year Zero to be. Whatever that means. I haven't seen the new Batman, by the way, no spoilers, so I guess the Riddler is scary now. I always picture Frank Gorshin. I don't care who draws him or who writes him. It's always with the Thing and the Jim Carrey can take a hike. Scott Snyder blocked me on Twitter once, and I'm sure it was not, like, he didn't seek me out, but I tweeted something about how bad Death of the Family was, which was a big Batman event around the same time. I want to say 2014, 2015. And it stunk on ice. I've never liked Death in the Family, which was the 80s arc in which Robin is killed. after readers voted for him to be killed from 1-900 numbers. Ask your parents what those used to be. And didn't like it then, even though it was Aparo and Starlin, who I think, right? I think it was Starlin. I'll correct myself at some point, I'm sure. Right. Sorry. Death in the Family was in the 80s. That was where they killed Robin. Didn't like it. Death of the Family was where the Joker killed Robin. And Death of the Family was where the Joker either attempts or succeeds in killing the rest, Batgirl and everybody else. And yeah, it sucked out loud. I don't like to be negative online. I'm that guy. I'm patting myself on the back for it as we speak. So I tweeted some joke about it though. Death of the Family stinks. And didn't name names. And I never tag people that I'm even behind my hand shit talking. So, but my friend Dave, Wagalter, hey Dave, he was like, what about Snyder? And I said, no. I said, John Layman had a couple issues in that event that were a breath of fresh air while reading the collected hardcover that I had. But everything else sucked out loud. And that's, and I think so. My theory is, because this happened also when I used to run the San Diego Comics Twitter, Dan Slott blocked us. I think for the same reason. When people on Twitter start shit talking, whomever they're shit talking can just block them all. It doesn't matter. And I think at this point, and especially if you're a comics creator, and especially in the mid-teens, it seemed like a big thing, you were doing that a lot because Twitter is a cesspool, obviously. I don't really care. I'm not a huge fan of Scott Snyder. I don't dislike him, though, either. His Swamp Thing was good. Batman Year Zero was good. I know I've read other stuff by him that I like. Death of the Family wasn't good. And I'm not even the one who mentioned him by name. Same thing with the Dan Slott thing. He blocked San Diego Comics, which doesn't matter because that account's deleted, as far as I know. Or it's dead, certainly. I should look into that, actually. I'm curious. Same deal. We tweeted something. I used to run the Twitter and tweeted something like, hey, this is... Like every day we would tweet. I would tweet, hey, they're coming this week or whatever. And I would tag creators and stuff, trying to get them to retweet it or at least like it or something. And inevitably some shithead would come in and go, well, this sucks. And I was like, well, I didn't even respond to it. Then Dan Slott just blocked everybody because of that one guy. That's the most I've talked about social media since I deleted all mine back in October. And yuck. And that thing too now, where this is another sidebar. I deleted Instagram, I deleted Facebook, I kept my Twitter, but I don't tweet anymore. I'll go on there and lurk every now and again, but I don't interact. I don't want anything to do with anybody, frankly. But inevitably now I'm noticing this way more because people in your social circles, they just assume that you've seen all their social media or whatever is going on. And now that people in my life know that I haven't seen what's going on, they go, oh, you got to see, I'll show you this Instagram post. And I go, you could just throw your phone into the street. I would rather that, frankly. What the fuck would I want to look at your Instagram or anybody's Instagram ever again? This has been another episode of Grumpy Old Man in the 21st Century. Finally today in Picks of the Week. This was also my pick. I guess I don't need to point that out. If you haven't subscribed to the Galaxy of Comics newsletter, best of luck to you, because I can't even figure out how to do it. You used to be able to do it through the website, but I can't. But Galaxy of Comics has a weekly newsletter, and all of us each pick one. This is my pick for this week. This is Wolverine patch number 1. This is written by Larry Hama and drawn by Andrew DeVito, who's also very good. Back in 1988, they gave Wolverine his first monthly series. He had a mini-series 4 years previous, which sold really well. I don't know why it took him so long to give him another solo, an ongoing title. I think back then, though, they weren't just throwing titles everywhere like they do now. Again, I digress. So back in 1984, Chris Claremont and Frank Miller did a 4-issue Wolverine series. 4 years later, Chris Claremont began writing a monthly Wolverine series, and Claremont, I think, only wrote the first year's worth. I'm not sure who came in after him either. I have that's one of the few titles that I have most of. I don't have a complete run of that Wolverine series yet, but I'm close. But this was right when I started collecting funny books. My first issue of Wolverine, I believe, was number 3 or 5. I can picture the cover, but I can't picture the number. But it was one of those two. I think it was 5, actually. Now I'm thinking about it. And I was able to get the first 4. The first issue was hard to get back then, and it's near impossible now. In fact, I don't if Cotton's watching this. We used to have. I don't remember what the deal was. I think we split the money to buy it, or we kept exchanging it as like I would give it to him for Christmas, he would give it to me for my birthday. We sort of traded off, and I think I ended up with it when he moved to Utah. I have Wolverine #1. Is all I'm trying to say. I don't have the original series in single issues. I don't think, but I do have the trade, which in itself is worth money because that's well out of print too, or at least that edition of it is. So when Claremont began the Wolverine monthly series, where the character was in the Marvel Universe was, the X-Men had recently been killed. The Reavers, no, this is before the Reavers. I don't remember how they died exactly, but they died, the world saw it, and so the world believed the X-Men were dead, and after the fact, they were like, well, why don't we just lay low for a while? We'll let the world think we're dead. And Wolverine went to Madripoor, which is a fictional South Asian island. And this was his brilliant disguise, a tuxedo and an eye patch. Now, the tuxedo, nobody's going to expect Weapon X to be wearing a tuxedo. That's not what the X in tuxedo stands for, as it turns out. The eye patch thing is some straight-up Clark Kent bullshit. Nobody's falling for that. He still has the dumb hair. Who the hell has that hair? Who has claws? He didn't obviously pop his claws when he could help it. But as I said in my recommendation in the newsletter, who cares? This is from my childhood, so this means I already like it. Drafting Larry Hama to write this is not a completely insane choice, but it was a little odd because Larry Hama did have a very long run on Wolverine, but it was much, much later in the run where he was no longer on Madripoor and he was no longer going by pseudonym Patch, the nom de guerre. That's his name, Patch, too. It's not bad enough that he has the eye patch, but then he's going to introduce himself to people as Patch, as though to draw more attention to it. So people are like, that little guy in the eye patch, something. And then he goes, hi, I'm Patch. And you go, oh, that's what, you're Wolverine, but with an eye patch on. And then he has to cut your head off. Adamantium claws, razor sharp. Who cares? I don't care. Yeah, so Larry Hama is now tackling an era. Oh, that's what if I haven't made that clear. This takes place in that early 30 years ago time. 35, 30. So it should be good. Picks up last week, but. Alright, where are they? Oh, here they are. Oh, only a couple. Yeah, I've not had much reading time. I was in Long Beach all last week, where I did manage to get through a lot of my stuff, but I'll be in Long Beach again all next week, so I don't know how much reading I'm going to do. I'm going to try and get these knocked out before then, so obviously I'm still going to do the video. Pardon me. But in the meanwhile, here are what I'm trying to say is excuse me again, I'm behind, but I did get these knocked out. All right, great. First up, Batman Superman World's Finest #1. This was great. This was exactly what I was hoping for. And I gotta say this, and I don't know, maybe I'm just projecting. It's very simple stuff. Really could almost have predicted it. Oftentimes, when you see Batman and Superman teamed up, you also see their villains teamed up. So this opens with Poison Ivy up to her old eco-terrorist shenanigans. And in Metropolis, though. And so here comes Superman to save the day. And then Metallo shows up, who's a Superman villain. And Metallo's thing is that he's like a cyborg, but he has a heart of kryptonite. So obviously him and Superman do not go to the same book club. In this issue, though, he manages to inject Superman with red kryptonite. I'm not up on all my kryptonites. Not a DC guy so much, but I'm aware that there's a bunch of different kryptonites. I think green kryptonite is the standard kryptonite. Blue kryptonite, I think, is what affects the Bizarro Superman and his ilk. There's jewel kryptonite, but I'm not sure what that does. Gold K, red K. There's gold kryptonite. I only know some of the colors because they're in a Boris the Sprinkler song. It goes gold K, red K, white K, jewel K2. So there's white kryptonite. I don't know what that is. Red kryptonite, though, I learned, has a completely random effect. It's different every time. And instead of just being exposed to it, Metallo injected it directly into Superman. Man of Steel, nothing. So he goes, and it becomes the thing. It's great. And there's a lot of, there's a, Wade's dialogue can be very snappy. It's weird. He'll do, like, kind of just straight ahead superhero action stories, still with a little bit of wit. I don't know. He's not like Brian K. Vaughan or a writer like that, or Bendis, where it's like you expect a lot of snappy patter. But Wade is good at snappy patter, is what I guess I'm saying. And it also, and then again, I think this is me projecting, it always feels like, not always, it feels like in this instance, Wade is like kind of hand holding. Like, you have your main Batman title, or the 19 Batman titles that are out these days. You have your main Superman title, or usually always got action and Superman going. Those are the main stories. Those are the, canon. Something like this is more like a lark. So readers like myself who are like casual DC readers are more likely to pick it up. And so it feels more like, hey, we're going to make this a little more, the word is right on the tip of my tongue. Not acceptable. Accessible. That's what I was thinking. And it worked. Wonders, in fact. This was super fun. Reckoning War, Trial of the Watcher #1. This was essentially a what if. And Javier Rodriguez's art is as good as ever, but what if you're not aware, is a series of comics that they've done over the years since 70. I messed this date up before. The 70s. Where they ask, what if this happens? What if Spider-Man joins the Fantastic Four? Or what if the X-Men lose Inferno? That was my first. What if the Punisher's family survived? All sorts of different. And so these are all considered universes unto themselves. So there's, it's a multiverse, which is now a buzzword. You're welcome. I don't know. So the subtitle of this is basically, what if the Watcher had not interfered when Galactus arrived on Earth? For diehards like myself, this is just common knowledge, but in the Fantastic Four issues 48, 49, and 50, you had the first appearances of the Silver Surfer and of Galactus, of whom the Silver Surfer was a herald. Galactus is a planet eater. It's Galactus the Devourer. He's a massive giant, a god, basically, who goes to planets, and he uses his ship to drain the nutrients from any planet. And he always has a herald, and in this case it was the Silver Surfer, who would go out and find him suitable planets. The Surfer became that, and I don't think they get into it in the original, so I guess I don't have to now. But that's right. So in the storyline, the Surfer shows up, and everybody's like, oh, this can't be good. And the Watcher pops in, and he goes, hey, hi, Uatu here from the moon. I live up on the moon. He goes, I don't mean to be a drag, but Galactus is going to come here and eat this planet, so you might want to... He goes to the Fantastic Four and tells them this is happening. The Silver Surfer shows up, and he's like, yeah, this is good enough. We can kill all these people. But then he ends up landing in the apartment of one Alicia Masters, who is the blind sculptress girlfriend of Benjamin J. Grimm, otherwise known as the Thing, the ever-loving blue-eyed Thing, in fact, to differentiate him from the others. And she, in her artistic, beautiful way, shows the Silver Surfer that the Earth should be spared, that humanity is worth it. Whilst doing that, the Watcher tells the Fantastic Four that the Ultimate Nullifier is a weapon that they can use against Galactus. But they have to, I don't remember what the deal is there. Like, I think they have to go to another planet or something to get it. It's a race against time. So the Silver Surfer defies Galactus. He says, no, you can't eat this place. And then he says, well, you're fired. And then that was where they got the idea for The Apprentice. Stupid. And then they get a hold of the Ultimate Nullifier, which they don't even use. Galactus was that afraid of it. It's just a little... That was kind of the cool thing. It's the Ultimate Nullifier, which is a great name. It's just a little device. It was like a little pop gun. But Galactus is like, hey, I don't want any trouble. I'm just going to take my shorts. He's wearing shorts in those first issues, by the way. It gets hot. You're going to eat the Earth in the middle of August in New York? Forget about it. You're going to wear sweats? So, yeah, he hands the Silver Surfer his walking papers. He trapped him on Earth for a good long while, but then that was how you got a Silver Surfer series out of that. And it's a classic. It's The Coming of Galactus is a very well-known story in Marveldom. So here we have the Reckoning War, where now the Watcher, Uatu, is like, hey, we got to do something about the Reckoning. That's the alien race whose name I was trying to think of. It's right in the title. You think I could remember it. Uatu is like, hey, we need to do something about the Reckoning. Their name is being very literal right now. And his father and the rest of the Watchers were like, young man, you are going to your room. And they pry his eyes open like in A Clockwork Orange and make him watch what would have happened if he had not interfered. And I don't want to spoil it, but it doesn't look good for Uatu to have interfered in the first place. Really fun stuff. I mean, What If is always fun to me. I've always loved What If. Oddly enough, I haven't read that many of them. There's like tons that I haven't read. And they can be, like, when I was a kid, it was the second series started in, again, 1988 or 89, somewhere in there. Some of them stunk, especially that series, like, that was back too when you could have a book would last a long time, even when it stunk, because they would really try to, like, give it enough time. Now it's like, there's no such thing as a continuing series anymore. That's a rant for another day. I've already about hit my limit. What was I saying? Oh yeah, it's a What If though. I like the multiverse. I guess that's why it's kind of bugging me that now everybody's talking about it, because that Doctor Strange movie. But well, yeah, one of the most appealing things to me about the Marvel Universe was that you have Earth 616, and then you have all these, just an infinite number, as many ideas as you can think. They're like, oh yeah, we'll create an Earth for that. What if they all became zombies? Oh yeah, we got that. Or what if Apocalypse took over the world? Yep. And I mean, a lot of these become as well known as the 616 Earth, the Ultimate Universe, for example, which was one long what if. What if Spider-Man became a black kid at some point, and then they brought him into the Marvel Universe? So, yeah, it was exactly what I wanted from this story. So the Reckoning War is really shaping up to be a hell of an event. Thank you, Mr. Dan Slott. I know a lot of people don't like you because of the whole Spider-Man thing, and I used to be one of them, but not the Dr. Octopus thing, the Brand New Day thing, which wasn't even Dan Slott's fault. That was, I think I've mentioned this before, and I don't want to get into it. Alright, so I won't. That was Pixel last week. Okay, well, I'm going to go to bed now, I think. It's 7:30. That's fine. Okay, bye.